Weekend with a Campos Racing Chevrolet carrying no ballast. He was fastest in free practice 1, fastest in free practice 2, set the fastest lap in Q3, but because he had an issue with the clutch, the gearbox, or an issue with the gearbox, it wouldn't select neutral when he was rolling up towards the pit exit to go out on his single flying lap. The pit lane red light was on, but he didn't dare stop because he didn't think he'd get neutral and thought he would then stall the car or burn out the clutch before his lap. So he rolled through it, and unfortunately his time was disallowed. So he starts this race in 6th position. We'll start the main race in 5th place. Jose Maria Lopez, of course, is the other Argentine. He leads the championship now by 104 points after claiming points for the fastest lap in Q3 yesterday. However, after an engine change before this morning, he will start race 1, the opening race, from the back of the grid.
Quick word with you, Pachito. What was the reason behind the decision to change your engine now?
Because the engineers and the team saw something was going on, something strange, something not normal. And yeah, we didn't want to take the risk, you know, in my position in the championship. We don't need that, so yeah, we changed it. I think we took the best position possible because I will be starting from the back, but it's a race that I was going to start from 10 positions. So in the end, I'm losing 8 positions, but it's a lose. So now it's all about to try to minimize the loss and try to take profit as much as we can of the second race, which I will be starting from pole.
Thank you.
Well, that's the key there, is that they knew that he would still keep his main race pole position because the back of the grid penalty is only for a race. So he takes the pill here at the first start. So he drops, as he said, from 10th to 18th or 16th, wherever it is, because there are 2 other cars being dropped to the back of the grid before him. So he goes behind them, I'm assuming. But he has won 2 races in France last year from the final row of the grid. So, you know, we'll see what he can do here. It's everything is possible. Here is our DHL pole sitter, though, John Philippi.
Our pole man for the opening race. Jean, what's your strategy? You're going to sit at the front. Obviously, you want to get a better start than you did in Qatar. But you have 2 very, very quick boys behind you that will be chomping at your heels. Are you going to be thinking about what they're doing, or are you simply getting your head down to get to that first corner?
No, I will push a lot the first corner for the first at the exit, and I think I will try to lock them everywhere, and let's see, maybe after 1 or 2 laps, if I keep them back in my back, it can be a good race for me.
Elbows out wide and good defending. Good stuff. Thanks, John.
Well, Harry, you know, young driver, lots and lots of talent behind him, world champions, world championship contenders, but if he can get himself into the lead at the first corner, who knows what might happen here. If he can make a break somehow, the Chevrolet is light, it is very quick. If the Hondas and Citroens behind start to mix it up, he could be gone before they sort themselves out. Our DHL pole sitter for the opening race here in Argentina is Frenchman John Philippi. Tom Chilton on the outside of the front row of the grid. Fellow Brit James Thompson just got bounced out of the fast 12. It was very cutthroat, wasn't it, at the end of the first section of qualifying. Tomo was not in, and that means that he is relegated. Well, in fact, he's 11th place because he missed the top 10 cutoff in
the cruel mistress of this style of qualifying, yeah, wasn't it? It came down to the final lap, and he literally got bounced down at the end of that lap. So,
although because Lopez has been sent to the back of the grid, he is starting in 10th place, but he doesn't get the reverse grid change because Lopez was effectively, quote, first, and so that 10th rather than 10th in qualifying 10th. So Lopez didn't lose his qualifying time. Had he done, then everybody else would have moved up, and Tomo would be on the pole position for the opening race. Norbert Mikulich in 9th position, 6 straight podiums in the last 6 races. Norby, like Ivan Muller, winless so far this season, which is, I beg your pardon, no, he's had 2 wins, hasn't he? He had a tough weekend in Hungary, 2 wins this season. Ivan Muller who's just in front of him, directly in front of him on the grid. In fact, still winless on a 14-race winless streak. There's Tom Coronel, who starts in 8th position on the grid. And as you said, right in front of him, Esteban Guerrieri, kind of giving him a bit of a hurry up, just kind of giving Tom a little poke, saying, look, the car can go quicker. And Tom's the sort of driver that isn't going to throw the dummy out and go, rah, rah, rah. He's going, right, okay, he can do it. Why are we not doing it? That's the thinking there is, right, it's possible to go that quick. Now we've got to work out how they're doing it.
Tom's a real positive thinker, and he definitely will be after that position. He'll be gutted to see Guerrieri beat him and be qualifying ahead of him. So I'm sure during the races we'll see him fighting for that position.
Yeah, and if Guerrieri can open up lines of pursuit on the inside of corners with his quick Chevy, then I expect Coronel to try and follow through as well. If Armuller, well, trying to break the winless streak, he starts here in 7th position, and that means he'll be 4th on the grid for the second of our races for the main race. Esteban Guerrieri, though, starts here in 6th position. He'll be 5th for the main race, so there will be 2 Argentines in the top 5, and that could be entertaining as well. It's not at all beyond the bounds of possibility that we could have Lopez versus Guerrieri for victory in the main race. That'd just be fantastic to see. It would be really
fantastic
good
spectacle, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a win-win situation for the crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, so much to be gained for their home pride and for the Argentine flag. You know, they'll both be out there for their own moral win, I guess.
Definitely, and we know that Pachito brings a lot of fans to, he's a big box office draw. He brings a lot of fans to the circuit, and I'm sure throwing Guerrieri in, who's currently on their TVs every weekend, he's the reigning Super TC 2000 champion, you know, that sort of racks it all up as well. So it's like having an international race with 2 real superstars involved. And of course, Lopez, the first Argentine to win a world championship in motor racing since Juan Manuel Fangio back in 1957. So it's been a long drought for the country. Mehdi Benani lines up in 4th place on the grid ahead of the Honda of Rob Huff. And Honda might have an interesting part to play in this as well. They're a little lighter than the Citroens. I think Huff and Montero's cars could go really well here from row 2 and row 3 of the grid.
What was really interesting, actually, in Mach 3 yesterday, we saw the Honda had some great pace.
Yep.
You know, as between the 3 of them, they were fantastically fast in Mach 3. But what we didn't see in qualifying were the free practices. It seemed to come out in Mach 3. So, you know, race conditions, it's closer to Mach 3.
Yes.
So you never know.
Yeah, that toe seemed to work well for them. They engineered victory in Mach 3. They've now won more Mach 3 time trials, team time trials, than either of their manufacturer rivals, Citroen or Lada. So they continue to add points to their manufacturer's championship pile. Thiago Montero then starting 3rd on the grid. And Thiago, after just a memorable weekend 6 weeks ago in Villarreal, he came in on the back of a shocking time last year, and I'm sure he had high hopes, but expectations, I don't know. I'm sure he was trying to keep those in check, but in the end it turned into a Thiago worshipping crowd sensation. It was quite remarkable. He starts 3rd on the grid. Tom Chilton in 2nd position. Now, another chance here for Chile to go out and try and win a race outright. He's got John Philippi in front of him. He's got to fancy his chances of getting in front of Philippi. 1, because of his own greater experience, and 2, because he's in a Citroen CLSA. You know, so he's got to figure, I'm getting by Philippi, I'm going to leave him to hold everybody else up. I'm going for the win.
Definitely. It'll be tough to get it off the line carrying that extra weight relative to the Chevy, but, you know, we know the car's probably a little bit more capable. Tom, as well as more experience, he's done a lot more touring car racing than Philippi, but, you know, hats off to Philippi as well. You know, he came 10th. This is probably, I think it's his 2nd ever reverse grid pole as a DHL pole sitter, so great. We've got Lopez.
I have a less traction and less rear, so now because the car is loose on the rear, we have better front.
Okay, well, yesterday he was complaining a lot about the car being loose on the rear, a bit of oversteer everywhere, car sliding a lot. Now the front is better. Well, that's the way it works. As the back starts to swing round, it helps the front turn into the corner. You feel like there's more grip, because in fact the car is turning from the back as well as from the front.
Exactly what you want for a race distance run as well.
Yeah.
So later in the race, he knows his front tyres will be relatively stronger.
Sorry, Harry. John Philippi starts on pole from Tom Chilton, Thiago Monteiro and Mehdi Benani, then Rob Huff, Esteban Guerreri, Ivan Muller and Tom Coronel. Norbert Michaelis and James Thompson round out the top 10 because there are engine penalties for Daniel Nagy, Gabriele Tarquini and overnight Jose Maria Lopez, who drops from 10th to 18th place on the grid. Green flag waved by our race director, Mirek Bartos. And the field moves away. Worryingly, a very slow getaway for the white car on the left of your screen. That is Esteban Guerreri, the Argentine in the Campos Racing Chevrolet. He had a problem yesterday with the car, the gearbox,
struggling
didn't select neutral. Yeah.
Which indicates a bit of a clutch issue or maybe an alignment issue with the way they're
worrying about his clutch. I'm sure they have worked overtime overnight to try and get it sorted out. It's not that the cars have been in Parc Fermé all night long. Once they've been passed out of scrutineering, you can then go and prepare them for the races. Well, he is rolling, which is good news. Jose Maria Lopez, well, yes, it's not good for the championship if there's a problem with the engine. Well, it's good for the championship. It's not good for Lopez championship. However, with 104 points lead, he could miss 4 races and still be the points leader.
Welcome aboard my Castrol, Honda Civic Type R. Down at the bottom hairpin, just warming everything up. Conditions quite different from yesterday, a lot warmer. Sun shining and track degrees, 20 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. We had full cloud cover. We'll see opening race first, starting at P5. Some fast boys behind us, obviously, and I think we can make some places up in this first race. The cars feel good. Race pace has been good. Certainly the slightly longer stints that we've done in the free practice sessions, pace was good. Some local Argentinian racing this morning, some oil on the track through there. It's at 9 and 10. Fastest corner on the track, this left-hander, very quick. Expect to see some slides, certainly in the first few laps. A lot of cars struggling yesterday with rear tyre temperatures, so I'm all set to go. Have fun, good luck.
Buona fortuna, as they probably don't say in Argentina. Rob Huff on his warm-up lap along with everyone else. Cars coming to the grid for the opening race in Argentina. Circuit Termas de Rio Hondo. And they are led to the front by Frenchman John Philippi in his Chevrolet. Last on the grid will be the local hero, Jose Maria Lopez. The fans saw him claim pole position for the main race yesterday, the fastest lap in Mach 3 that was allowed to count. And expected him to start 10th. However, an engine change overnight by the Citroën team. They saw some anomalies in his data. Now, John Philippi may not be exactly in his pit box. He is not in front of the line, but he is not necessarily square in the box. However,
Splitter was ahead, wasn't it? But the wheels were behind.
The wheels are in now. I was just thinking he was sort of slightly straddling the brackets, if you like, down the side. However, that shouldn't hopefully be a problem. John Philippi will lead the field. Lopez reaches his grid spot right at the back of the field. Green flag waves. We are into the final moments before the opening race here in Argentina. John Philippi with the dark blue. On the left is Tom Chilton, the fellow front row starter, and away we go. Great start from the Englishman. Good start too from Thiago Monteiro in 3rd place. And he is going to be the problem for Philippi because Chilton is running down into the very close first corner in the lead. Monteiro is going to try and go the long way around the outside, but Harry, it's more than 180 degrees. It tightens up in favour of the man on the inside, and Chilton has the lead, but Monteiro is desperate to get by.
Yeah, it's a long way around the outside of that first corner, but hats off to trying. He's up the inside there in turn 2.
And Benani tried to get underneath Philippi. Now Chilton's on the inside as they come sweeping right through turn 3 and turn 4 onto the long back straight. And here comes Ivan Muller. Watch the red Chevrolet. So, Chevrolet a few years ago. Sitchin, where's Montero gone? Here comes Muller.
Huffy's got a bit of a run there as well, I think.
Yes, he has. Chilton leads from Philippi. We are 2 Hondas wide. Huff down the inside of Montero. Banani on the outside. Muller sweeps around him. 4 into 1. How did they survive that down at turn 5? Muller's on the outside, gets a little bump, but stays on, and he is almost in 3rd place. And Lopez is stuck in a larder sandwich.
Huffy alongside, but he's got the inside line for this next corner. It's a big stop, but he's definitely going to come out of there ahead, I would have thought.
Yeah, very much too tight for Muller to gain an overlap around the outside. Montero is there, so too is Banani, and look at Esteban Guerreri, 86 on his window and 68 on the window of Ivar Muller. Muller's not through to 3rd place. He's 4th. Guerreri gets eased wide by Montero, eases himself back in again. That white Chevrolet is light and fast, and as the race progresses, it will be kinder on its tyres. He will only get quicker, Harry.
Yeah, indeed, he'll just be able to sit where he is, and kind of the fight will come back to him. And it's quite, while it's a relatively smooth track, it's not too heavy on tyre wear, so yeah, he will still have an advantage later in the race.
Trailing lock-up from the yellow Chevy of Tom Coronel as the black and white one of James Thompson dive bombs Gregoire de Moustier out on the dirt. De Moustier, and then the Lard is trying to get by him. They seem to have a bit more race pace than they did qualifying pace.
Muller was having a dive up the inside of Huffy there.
Yeah. Lopez still stuck behind Katzberg and Valente, and despite his engine change, Gabriele Tarquini barely ahead of the last couple of cars. The Volvos have sagged right to the bottom of the field. Guerrieri goes by Banani, so he moves up a spot as well. And did Muller get by Huff for good?
No, I don't think he did.
No, I think he's just in front of Montero. In fact, Montero is in the slipstream. Banani is towing up behind Guerrieri. He's not going to be close enough to have a lunge down the inside. Look, the Argentine, he's just gone middle and leg. He's just defending that inside line a little bit. And Guerrieri holds off the red, white and green Sitchin of Mehdi Banani. Up behind him is Tom Coronel. Thompson on the outside, getting eased out by de Moustier. And eases his way back in again through corner 6.
Lopez making his headway through the field like a hot knife through butter, as we'd kind of expect, I guess.
Well, he's trying, isn't he? But there's so much battling going on here. Thompson cuts back to the inside in the black and white car. Underneath de Moustier, another little nudge between them, and now Lopez is going to try and go through. De Moustier has a big weave. Lopez is going to sweep around the outside. 9 and 10, is there room there? Local knowledge, that helps. He got through past de Moustier.
Yeah, I think he had to back out with Thompson, but yeah, it was a good move, great move around the outside.
I think de Moustier knew who it was coming up and went, okay, I'm not having you off. And wow, Coronel around the outside of Esteban Guerrieri. So as Guerrieri used his tyres too much, Chilton leads from Philippi, Huff, Muller and Montero. Then the gap back to Banani, fastest race lap.
That was the Coronel fight that we were talking about before. Yep. He will not be happy to be out-qualified by a fellow Chevy driver early.
He'll be sanguine about it. He'll just be going, oh, right, OK. It's always good for an athlete to have a little wake-up. You know, whatever discipline they're, whether they're runners, jumpers, riders, drivers, whatever, having a little wake-up call always helps. Guerrieri with Norby. Now, Guerrieri started the weekend with all fresh tyres, whereas everybody else has one worn set that they carry over. They don't have to be particularly worn, but I wonder now that he's starting to get into the race rhythm, whether the car is feeling a little different from him, because he's going in the opposite direction to the way that I predicted. Let's hear from Norby.
Feels like the engine is weak.
OK, so he hasn't got the throttle response. So that's why Norby is struggling to match the pace of Huff and Montero up front. And he is still in front of this battle. Lopez around the outside of Guerrieri. Argentina versus Argentina. And the three-time world champion up the inside.
And Tomo as well.
Yep. Tomo's gone by. De Moustier coming past as well. Guerrieri's struggling. I wonder whether there is an issue with that car, whether he's having problems selecting the gears when he needs them.
It certainly seems like he may be missing a gear somewhere to be dropping that far back that quickly. Well,
or even just a lazy gear change. You know, when you pull the gears on the sequential shifter, you want them now in that 100th of a second, not gradually. That's why you use sequential shifters, because they're quicker, but everybody is going by. They're queuing up to have a go, aren't they? What a shame for Esteban Guerreri, because this was his big chance, I felt, starting in the top 6.
Yeah, it's not been kind to him this weekend, has it? With all the pace that we saw early on in the weekend, and the unfortunate incident in qualifying with the red light.
You know, you'd throw away say, any number of fast laps in free practice to have a good race, wouldn't you? You don't care about free practice. Look at John Philippi, though, still in second place. You know, his big danger really was Chilton. Chilton had a short run to the inside. As long as Tom got a good start, he was going to be on the inside of that 180-degree turn one. Let's hear what Guerrieri says.
Si no puedes conducir, entramos y reparamos el coche para la segunda carrera.
Well, that was the team speaking to him. Of course, Campos Racing, a Spanish team, so speaking in Spanish with Esteban, and I'm afraid it was so fast, I haven't got the faintest clue what they were talking about.
My Spanish GCSE teacher would not be impressed to know that I didn't get a word of that. That
Spanish isn't the kind that orders beers, taxis or hotel rooms, I'm afraid, so it's beyond my remit. Ivan Muller right behind Rob Huff. What's Thiago Montero got to show the Frenchman? Huffy in third. This is a view from Thiago. Muller's trying to go around the outside still. Muller wants a podium because, in fact, he doesn't want a podium. If he gets by Huff, he knows he can do Philippi, and he believes he can catch and pass Chilton. So for Muller, Huff is the real problem here. He thinks the other two will roll over if he gets by Rob. Volvo's ahead of Esteban Guerrieri and Daniel Nagy at the back of the field. And this is how it happened on board with Ted Björk, I think. He was the tailmost of the two. Polestar Volvo's not doing well here. Polestar have never been to Argentina. They raced briefly, yeah, he's in the pits. They raced briefly in Brazil a few years ago. By the way, Daniel Nagy racing here in Argentina. His older brother Victor is in nearby Brazil. Can you guess what he does? He's the goalie for the Hungarian water polo team, so he is at the Olympics.
Really?
And his brother's racing in the next door country. How bizarre a world we live in. Rob Huff still in third. John Philippi. Huffy can't get to Philippi. Now that's how good the Chevy still is.
He was pretty close before in the previous corner, but he just hasn't quite got it. Just not enough, is it? It's like 2% away, but that's the important 2%.
The problem is, if he overcommits and doesn't get the move, bang, Muller's by.
Yeah, he has to.
So it's hold third and try and chip away at second, but primary, keep Muller out.
Rear gun and hope for Philippi to make a bit of a mistake and kind of gift you a bit of a position. I think that's what Huff's got to do here. And yeah, well, it's almost good. He's going to have to push the moment, I think, actually, with Muller looking so racy behind.
And you know what the problem is the problem is Muller is paying no attention whatsoever to Thiago. Muller is all over different lines trying to get by Rob Huff. He's not bothered by Thiago. He doesn't feel that Thiago can get to him. So it's all about attacking Huff. And that means Huff has to be all about trying to hold Muller off. And that might seal second place for John Philippi.
Muller's in a bit of a Honda sandwich as well, though. So he's got Montero, and Montero's looking racy behind him as well.
Yeah.
So
if Arm's not once in the last couple of laps looked like he was placing his car to defend against Montero, it's all been looking to try and find a way past Huff, hasn't it?
It definitely has been, but look, Montero's right on his bumper. He can't give up defending as well. So it's the beauty with touring car racing. It's not all about attacking the car in front. You've got to defend against the guy behind and the guy behind him as well.
The big problem for Muller now comes when they get onto the straight. Of course, the Citroen's quick in a straight line. We know it's a quick little piggy. Look at Tom Chilton flying off there on yet another hot lap. But halfway through the race, Muller has got Huff in front, so he's slipstreaming up behind Huff and Philippi, but Montero's getting a 3-car tow, and that's why they're meandering like a river down the straight. Huff looking again to the inside. Does he have enough of an overlap? No, not enough to worry Philippi, but Philippi is being really conscientious with his racing line, isn't he? He's not yielding to that pressure.
Driven amazingly well so far, but we're going to see right now how wide his elbows can be in that Chevy, because we know Huffy and Muller, they're two of the worst people you want to see behind you.
Yeah, he needed his pointy elbow sharpener on overnight, didn't he? Let's see how he can do. And again, you know, it's It's that scene in the Cannonball Run where they just rip the rearview mirror out of the Ferrari going, we don't need that, we're only looking where we're going. That's exactly what he's got to do. Ignore the mirrors.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, they're going by, so just focus on your racing line. Don't make a mistake.
An engineer once told me, don't look in the mirror because that's behind you. And if you need to look in that, there's a reason why you're ahead of them, and that's because you weren't looking in there.
Looking behind you doesn't get you round the next corner. And he's exactly right. You know, all those things. David Leslie was a great advocate of never looking in your mirrors when you're under pressure. Good view of the start of Jose Maria Lopez, straight by Daniel Nagy. That's Gabriele Tarquini's car on the side. He's going by him as well.
Oh, Huffy up the inside there.
Oh, yes.
He's got him.
So Philippi has drifted out wide. And that's down to turn 1, wasn't it? So Huffy got past him into turn 1. Huffy's also very wide there into turn 2.
This is where, oh no, fair play. Philippi's managed to pull it back, because we've seen in the past here where people can get the cut back like Muller was trying to do there, but Philippi managed, he worked really hard, got it back over to the left and covered that line.
So Chilton leads by a decent margin now. That is opening up to getting on for 2.5 seconds. Huff now up to second. Graphic half a lap out of date. It's actually the battle for second. It is now Huff in second, Philippi in third. And look at the way that Huff finds traction that even the Chevrolet can't. That's impressive stuff from the Honda. And yet, Thiago can't close on Ivan the way that Rob can start to pull away from Ivan under acceleration.
So difficult with these cars as well, because we know this thing is very middle speed. Is that Muller up the inside?
Oh,
it is.
Oh yes, Muller gives Philippi a little shove and Philippi bobbles offline. Rats. John Philippi down to third, and I suspect down to fourth very soon indeed. Here comes Thiago. And Philippi's rhythm has gone. He's been a little rattled, just slightly offline in those 2 corners, 9 and 10, and straight through into 11 went Montero.
We've seen that so many times around this circuit. This is why it creates such great racing, because of the changes of direction. Middle speed, change, left to right. Massive change. Oh, that's a bit abrupt.
Bernani laying the fender on him, as they say. Norbert Michelisz and Tom Coronel go streaking by the Moroccan driver. And Coronel shuts the door of Bernani. Norby around the outside. Bernani's still underneath, but he's got nowhere to go. He's like a runner who's boxed in on the bend. He can't go forward, he can't go sideways. Lopez is there. And so this is now for 7th, 8th, 9th for Lopez. He's in the points. Jose Maria Lopez trying to move by Bernani for 8th, and does, and by Michelisz for 7th, and does, and there's Alada in the pit lane, and that has got to be Tarquini, hasn't it? And Lopez now on the run. Dahlgren is in the pit lane as well. Oh dear, this is turning into a bit of a shocker for half the teams here. Michelisz still with Bernani. He's on the inside at turn 5.
Should have that, I think.
Bernani's going to try and hang on there, isn't he? And I think one of the other things here is actually there is room to cling on around the outside of all these corners. It's not the cynical nudge you off sort of a track.
Yeah, there's about 3 or 4 potential lines into each corner, which is why it's good with the change of direction. You can actually, you know, be held out line on the outside, and then you've also got a bit of a comeback for the next corner.
Chilton and Huff, first and second, 2.278 seconds apart at the line last time round. And if Muller was a further 1.3 seconds back, I would suggest that perhaps those gaps will all have closed a little. Montero in 4th, and we're with Lopez looking at the back of Tom Coronel, and this is for 6th position. Lopez around the outside of Tom Coronel, trying to grab 6th position. John Philippi in 5th place, Coronel 6th, Lopez in 7th place as they come across the line. Lopez has got a run going here, Harry.
Yeah, I think so. If he gets in that toe, he's got this big turn 1, the big long right-hander. He can definitely get on the outside into turn 2, but not quite this time.
So in the pits is Hugo Vallant. Gabriele Tarquini still running. So Vallant in the pits. Norbert Nagy is our last runner. So Esteban Guerreri in the pits. Hugo Vallant in the pits. Robert Dahlgren in the pits.
Huffy closing up the gap to Chilton. Not a lot, but like a couple of tenths a lap. So yeah, he's on the close, but not maybe enough. Too little, too late, I'd say.
Yeah, this is lap 9. 4 to go after this. And Look at them pulling away from Norby down the straight. He was saying on the radio earlier the engine was a bit soft, wasn't he? Lopez down the inside of Coronel. No overlap there, but watch what happens under traction off the corner. John Philippi drifts a little wide. Similar Chevrolet to that of Tom Coronel. And John Philippi, Tom Coronel, 5th and 6th in the Chevys. Trying to remember exactly when that particular Chevy Cruze was introduced. That car's about 6 years old now in design terms, maybe 7, is it?
Yeah, 2011, I believe, was the first year of the Cruze. It was the year after I finished in the first car, so it was the first, but obviously a very different car to this generation. But
well, the chassis remains as neat and tidy as ever it was. And Coronel trying to make a pass,
got held
didn't
out
get
there.
around, yeah.
Lost a couple of spaces we didn't see from the on-board footage there, but yeah. And again, Benani's up the inside.
Yeah, Benani having a little rub.
Oh, too Benani style.
Thank you to Tammy on the Twitter feed. She said Guerrero was saying to the team, why don't I come in now? We'll fix the car for race 2. Her Spanish is better than mine, but then she's Spanish, so there you go. So, and even Pietro in Italian was translating that well for us, so very good. So that's exactly, I mean, that's the most sensible thing for Guerrieri to come in and try and, well, you know, race 1's a write-off anyway. Try and get the car sorted for race 2. So where have we got to now? We've got Chilton and Huff 1st and 2nd, Muller 3rd for Sitchin, Thiago Montero in 4th place for Sitchin, and 5th place is Jose Maria Lopez, and this is how he did it, driving around the outside of Coronel and then diving to the inside of Philippi.
Great move.
Crikey O'Reilly, he really does know how to get the best out of that car. In fact, I slightly preempted that move. He's only just gone by Philippi. The replay was him going by Coronel, but see Norby sneak by Coronel as well. Once Lopez got his foot in the door, then Norby followed him through. So
Lopez punched the hole.
Yeah.
Scooped the knee.
Norby is now up to 6th position, so we got 3 Hondas in the top 6. Driving standards flag being shown to Mehdi Benani. Well, there's nothing I think that I would have said was unfair racing.
A couple of little nudges maybe, but
yeah,
it's
the
okay.
move with
Mehdi.
Philippi, he
That's what
did
Mehdi
push him
does.
sideways, and Philippi lost a couple of places, but it is touring car racing, not single-seaters.
Yeah, no, exactly. Rubbing's racing. It's part of the fun.
Yeah, rubbing, filling, flatting,
Yeah.
filling again,
Exactly.
priming.
Punting.
That's the legacy of racing, obviously, on board with Norby. He's got a good run going. Great time to cut to the crowd. There's some crowd there, well done. John Philippi down the inside, defensively against Norbert Mikulits. And Philippi is doing a really good job in defence here. Norby picks the rear of the Chevy up. Oh, they're all having a go.
Yeah, you could see Philippi lost the back end. They actually had to go on the brake in the middle of the corner, unfortunately for him, which is what allowed him through. But yeah, he's doing a great job. He is defending fairly well, and that was, you know, it's hard when you've got these guys behind you who are pushing so hard, and they're so
older,
experienced.
more experienced, know the cars better, know the racing better. Chilton still leading. The gap was 1.5 at the beginning of the lap. It's about the same, but Muller was 1.3 behind Huffy 2 laps ago. He's about 0.13 behind Huff right now, isn't he? There's not even a car length between them. There's barely, or maybe 1 Citroen length between them as they pick the throttle up off turn 5.
We know there's no love lost between Huffy and Muller either, so there'll definitely be a bit of a scrap here, I think. And Muller will want to get through to be on the back of Tom Chilton and the other Citroen, so a skirmish, I would imagine, is in hand.
Well, listen, I think they get on perfectly fine out of the cars, but on the other hand, racing and, you know, what you do when you've got the helmet on are very, very different. I don't particularly think there's any major axes to grind. There might be, you know, a little bit of payback occasionally for something or other, but John Philippi still under pressure from Tom Coronel. Coronel to the inside now as they sweep into turn 11. Through he goes. So another place change. Tom is up to 7th. Where did he start on the grid? 8th. It's a lot of work for 1 spot in the race, isn't it? Mind you, they have pretty much all been passed by Jose Maria Lopez, at least all this group have. Now, Benani did this before, got on the inside and then pushed Philippi sideways. This time, Philippi left a little more room for Benani, and so the Moroccan driver just charged through. But if Philippi had shut the door, then Benani might well have ended up with a penalty there, because he was putting himself in a position where the other driver had to let him survive, and that wasn't necessarily what was highest on Philippi's agenda. Rob Huff still in second place. See, the camera always makes it look like Ivan's a long way back, doesn't it? He's not that far back, really, is he?
No, definitely not. That's 2/3 of a minor mistake, that is, and he's past you.
Oh, now you see how far back he isn't. Under braking right up, and just the tiniest little rub on the back of Rob Huff's Honda.
It's the worst feeling as well when you've got a guy that close to you and he gives you a little touch on the back. It's a bit of a, you know, I'm here, and yeah, I know. You don't need to flash at me anymore.
Well, you see, Ivan's not even bothering to flash headlights or put them on main beam or anything. You know, he knows I'm here. There's no, there's no need for any of that nonsense. I'm either going to get by him or I'm not, and the lights aren't going to make a difference to somebody like Huffy.
Yeah, and Huffy knows he's there as well.
Yeah.
Sure,
Incident between Norby and John Philippi will be investigated after the race. What, that tiny little touch? Right, and you're not going to investigate where Benani pushed him sideways and went through for a position?
Yeah, Benani's had two fairly major, unless it's happened off camera, of course.
Do you know what? If you want drivers to do things like obey track limits and respect the rules, then you have to have people that enforce them in a logical manner. If you push somebody sideways and nobody says anything except for, oh, we're warning you about your driving, and then there's unintentional contact as the driver in front loses his car under braking, and that is subject to a potential penalty, rubbish. Rant over. Tom Chilton leads onto the final lap by a second from Rob Huff, and Rob about 1/3 of a second in front of Ivan Muller.
Yeah, Huffy's closed that gap by almost a second from when he managed to make the lead past Filippi, but unfortunately it was a little bit too late. But yeah, great to see. Great race at the front there, and still not over. We've got Muller chasing Huff hard, and Montero not a million miles away. It could still happen in the last lap.
Well, Chile's had 3 second places so far this season, but winless. He's not winless in total, of course, in World Touring Car Racing, but it will be his first win of the season. If he can complete this lap out front, that will be his 4th outright career victory. And of course, with Mehdi Benani back down, Tom Coronel is 2nd. Benani is 3rd in the independence rankings. There's his engineer, Nick. So that will all help close up things at the top of the independence table. And what is the gap? It was 27 points. And he will get more than Benani. I can't do the maths. Final lap for Tom Chilton. Opening race here in Argentina. And it has been busy, hasn't it? There's been action all the way down the field. A couple of unfortunate retirements.
And to be fair, Chile, we haven't mentioned him much because he's had such a clean race. He's managed to got a fantastic start, overtook the Chevy off the line, which would have been hard, you know, with the weight difference. And Tom Chilton takes the win. So
did what he needed to do, didn't he? He knew it was about getting in front in the first corner and leaving Filippi to deal with the others. It took a little more to wade his way through the treacle and get shot of his pursuers. And there's the salute for Jose Maria Lopez, who comes across the line 5th from 18th on the grid, aided by 2 or 3 retirements and pit lane visits, but aided predominantly by his ability and that of the Citroën C-Elise. Sure, it's with 90 kilos of ballast, which is more than they had planned for. I think the car was only designed to run with a maximum of 60. However, they've done a superb job. Chilton wins, and Lopez finishes in 5th position. Our opening race winner in Argentina, Tom Chilton, his first win of the season, his 4th career victory in World Touring Cars, and he wins round 15 of the championship. So we're well into the second part of the season. We're past the halfway point, and for those hoping for a nail-biting conclusion to the championship, the bad news is that Jose Maria Lopez went from 18th to 5th, so he scores a hatful of points, barely fewer than any of his closest rivals. So the championship leader's advantage will be reduced. But Thiago Montero, who's 2nd, was only 4th. Nicky Catsburg, who's 3rd in the points, didn't score. Mehdi Benani, who's 4th in the points, he was in 8th place. Ivan Muller, who's 5th in the points, he was in 3rd position. Norbert Mikulits, who's in 6th in the points, was also behind Lopez. So Lopez barely even broke stride there. Here's our race winner, though. Alex is down there. Once Tom finds her, he finds her, she finds him, cameras all lined up and the stars are aligned and the planets are in the right position, we should hopefully get a word with our opening race winner.
Well, here we have it, Tom Chilton. When I spoke to you yesterday, you were like, really, all I want this weekend is to win that opening race. You've done it!
That is all I wanted. Last night, I think I did about 1,000 laps in my head, shutting my eyes, going to sleep. I was like, I want this. It's all about the start, and I got a great start, which I thank the team for, because a lot of it's down to them as well. And the team's just worked so hard, and it's just so nice to finally get a win this year. I've had lots of seconds and thirds, and I kept missing the win. I've now got it in Argentina, the home of the best touring car drivers in the world, so I'm very happy.
How much were you aware of what was going on behind you? Because you had some very quick boys and they were chomping at your heels all the time, but you seemed to manage to keep the distance.
I know, and I had huge vibration halfway through the race, and I was genuinely worried about a puncher. And, you know, I tried to back off a little bit because I was thinking, I think I'm going to get a puncher, guys. Huge vibration. They go, they're now catching. That means they will catch you on the last lap. Push, push, push. And I'm like, I want to win, but I don't want to punch her. And it was like, all this. And I just kept trying to do the same thing every lap and hold on to my tyres, and we did it. And I'm so happy.
Winner, winner, Lomo dinner. Now get ready for race 2,
Yeah,
main race. Well done, Tommy.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Tom Chilton. And Harry, you know, when you're leading and the laps are clicking down, you're always hearing noises and feeling things, aren't you? Going, no, don't do that.
Yeah, and it's so hard to kind of maintain that rhythm as well, where, you know, there's, like we said before about the mirror, you know you're in that position because you've driven the way you've been driving for the previous laps, and you just need to keep that rhythm going, keep nailing the same lines. And like he said, he'd driven it 1,000 times in his sleep last night.
Yeah,
so
yeah, sleep.
Yeah.
what little sleep came. Just outside the top 8, James Thompson, John Philippi, then Ted Björk, Greg de Moustier, Nicky Katzberg, Gabriele Tarquini, and Esteban Guerreri, Ugo Valente, and Robert Dahlgren were all pit callers. Dahlgren did go back out and finish the race, but Ugo Valente and Esteban Guerreri, not sure quite whether the cars are still being worked on, in which case they will both start right at the back of the grid, or what. So we'll find out about that in a moment. So the Drivers' Championship, barely any change at the top. Jose Maria Lopez still with the advantage, but with 18 points covering 2nd to 7th, then it is very tight.